In the heart of the vast African savanna, under the shade of towering baobab trees, and across golden plains that stretched as far as the eye could see, there ruled the mighty lion, Obina, the king of the jungle. His roar shook the heavens, and his golden mane, thick and regal, was the envy of all the animals. His kingdom sprawled across the savannah, and his power was absolute. Obina knew no rival, for all the creatures in the land bowed to his strength and might. But it was not just his strength that made him feared, it was his pride. He would often boast, "I am the greatest of them all. The sun itself bows to me." His words echoed like thunder in the ears of the other animals. Whenever Obina spoke, the earth seemed to tremble in his wake. Despite his overwhelming strength, there was one thing Obina lacked: wisdom. He believed that power alone was the key to ruling and that no creature in the jungle could ever surpass him. He would say, "I am the king by the will of heavens, and I shall rule forever. No one is greater than I." But in the heart of the jungle, there lived small but yet a clever creature, a hare named Nneka, meaning mother is the best. Nneka was tiny in size, with fur as soft as the clouds, but her mind was sharp as a spear. She had been known for outwitting the greatest hunters and even the sweetest of animals. Nneka's wisdom was respected throughout the jungle, and even the elders sought her counsel. She was not one to challenge others needlessly, but when injustice and arrogance reared its head, she would speak out. One bright morning, Obina called a grand assembly of all the creatures of the jungle. He had a plan, and he wanted the entire jungle to hear it. He stood proudly atop a high rock, his eyes scanning the sea of animals that gathered below: lions, elephants, giraffes, and even the humble ants. The jungle was silent, waiting for his words. "I, Obina, the Lion King, have decided that all animals will bow to me. My rule will be absolute. I shall declare the terms of this new era in the jungle, and there will be no questioning of my authority," Obina declared, his voice booming through the air. The animals exchanged nervous glances, unsure of how to respond. Some nodded in agreement, while others remained silent, sensing something that was amiss, but none dared to speak up for fear of incurring the wrath of the king. And then from the back of the crowd, a soft voice spoke. "Obina, you are mighty, yes, but power alone does not make one a true king." The animals parted as a small hare hopped forward. It was Nneka. The lion narrowed his eyes, his pride stung by the audacity of such a small creature challenging him in front of the entire jungle. "Who dares to question me?" he thundered, his voice vibrating the leaves on the trees. "It is I, Nneka the hare," she replied calmly, her eyes steady. "I do not doubt your strength, Obina, but I do question the wisdom of your rule. Power without wisdom leads to tyranny. Strength without kindness leads to fear. Is that the kind of king you want to be?" The jungle held its breath. For the first time, Obina was being challenged so openly. The mighty lion looked down at the small hare with a sneer. "You dare lecture me, little hare?" he growled. "What do you know of kingship? You are but a speck in this vast jungle." Nneka stood tall, unshaken by the lion's fury. "I may be small, Obina, but even the mightiest of rivers is shaped by the smallest pebble. I propose a challenge, a test of wits. If I win, you will acknowledge that wisdom is the true measure of a king, and you will rule with fairness and humility. But if you win, I will bow to you and serve you as your humble servant." The jungle gasped in surprise. A challenge between the lion, the king of strength, and the hare, the symbol of wisdom. It was unheard of. Yet Nneka's calm demeanor spoke volumes, and the animals began to murmur. curious to see how the contest would unfold. Obinna, his pride piqued, accepted the challenges. "Very well, Herr," he said, his voice filled with disdain. "I will prove that strength is superior to all. But be warned, you will regret this." The terms of the challenge were set. They would each take turns posing a riddle, and whoever answered the most riddles correctly would be declared the true ruler of the jungle. The jungle gathered at the base of the great baobab tree, where the contest would take place. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden light over the gathering. The animals eagerly waited the start of the contest. Obinna went first, his deep voice resonating across the jungle. "I'll begin with an easy one," he declared. "What animal is the fastest in the land?" The animals muttered among themselves, and Nneka took a moment to consider the question. She knew the answer. "It is the wind," she said. "The cheetah may be fast, but the wind can travel farther and faster than any creature." Obinna frowned. "You are correct, Nneka, but do not think this will be easy for you next time." Nneka smiled softly, but her eyes were sharp. Strength alone cannot outrun the wisdom of nature. The next riddle was Nneka's turn. With a graceful hop, she stood before the king. "What is the greatest power in the world?" she asked, her voice calm but full of purpose. Obinna's chest swelled with pride. "That is an easy one," he boasted. "It is strength. Only the strong can rule." Nneka shook her head gently, her eyes full of compassion and pity. "Strength is important, Obinna, but it's not the test of power. The greatest power in the world is kindness. For no matter how strong one is, without kindness, there is no loyalty, no respect, no love. A ruler who lacks kindness will rule only with fear." The jungle was silent. The other animals looked at each other, nodding slowly. They had never heard such wisdom from a creature so small. The lion's expression faltered. "Kindness, you say," he muttered. "I see your point, but I shall see how your wisdom fares against my might." It was Obinna's turn again. His voice thundered across the savannah as he posed his riddle. "What is the one thing that no creature can escape, no matter how powerful, clever, or swift they are?" Nneka paused for a moment, her mind working. Then she said, "Death." Obinna's heart sank. He had hoped to stump her with a riddle that only he could answer. But Nneka had understood the lesson behind the question. "You are correct once more, Nneka," he said, his voice softer now. "It seems you truly understand the ways of the world." Finally, it was Nneka's turn to ask the last question. She looked Obinna in the eyes, her gaze steady and full of wisdom. "Obinna, what makes a king truly mighty?" The lion's mind raced. "It is strength, of course, the power to defeat all challengers." Nneka smiled gently. "No, Obinna. A true king is mighty not because of his strength, but because of his wisdom, fairness, and humility. A king who rules with wisdom gains the respect of his people. A king who rules with humility earns their love. A king who rules with fairness earns their loyalty. It is not the roar of the lion that makes a king. It is the heart of the ruler that makes him great." Obinna stood there, silent. For the first time he understood. His strength had given him power, but his pride had isolated him from the respect and love of those he ruled. Nneka showed him that true greatness lay not in force, but in understanding, kindness, and humility. The jungle waited in silence, watching as Obinna's mighty shoulders slumped. Slowly, the great lion knelt before the small hare, his once proud chest heavy with realization. "You have won, Nneka," he said, his voice quiet but full of respect. I was blinded by my own pride. I see now that a king must rule with wisdom, fairness, and humility, just as you have taught me. I promise to be a different king, one who listens, who learns, and who serves the jungle rather than dominating it. The animals cheered, their voices rising in joyful unison. The jungle was united once again, for they knew that the mighty lion had learned the greatest lesson of all. And so, Obina the mighty lion ruled the jungle with newfound wisdom. Under his rule, the jungle flourished, and the animals lived in peace. And Nneka, the clever heir, became his most trusted advisor, always reminding him that true strength comes from those who understand the heart, not from the muscles. The end.